The Wildcats are out. Nick Nurse is out. And Aaron Rodgers is in. Officially a New York Jet. All that and more. It's Sports QuaranTV. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Sports QuaranTV. Chris, Dobson, Gerry Green, thanks for tuning in. We've got a great show. We've got a lot to talk about. And as you heard in the intro, we're going to start off the top in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, and that is with the Moncton Wildcats. That series has wrapped up with the Halifax Mooseheads. They did come away with the first win of the series, and then Halifax decided to get their playoff legs and decided to sweep from there. Overall, Gerry, it was a good series. At the same time, going into it, the Wildcats didn't have there wasn't a whole lot of hope for them. Yes, they came out in game one. I think that was just a matter of off that big win in Baie-Comeau. They went to 7 games and overtime. There was a lot of adrenaline, but they were more playoff game ready at that point. Meanwhile, the Mooseheads had like a week and a half off because they had finished their series up pretty early. So overall, I think it was just a matter of kind of getting back into the routine of things. But I want to get your thoughts on this season that was for the Moncton Wildcats. I mean, one, were you a bit surprised? They got through Baie-Comeau. Like, was that should that have been like the icing on top, like a second round vision here is something that I don't really think a lot of people were expecting. But what were your thoughts, man? You've been around the brink a long time. I want to get your opinion.
Chris, Jumpins, the Leafs would be happy to get through one series, wouldn't they? And so I think the Moncton Wildcats, who got the building blocks going, are happy to get through what was a very, very entertaining and pressure-packed situation for a lot of young players. And that's perfect building blocks for the future. And I think that was their playoff against a good Baie-Comeau team. And, not only did they, face off against probably one of the highest scoring team, I think, if not the highest scoring team in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, because they had the 3 top scorers in the league. I talk about the Halifax Mooseheads, but they picked up injuries during that series as well, with Loshing going down, and then you had Plendowski going down as well, as stalwart on the blue line. I don't know if that 2 days off helped or not, Chris, with Kevin Hart having his 2 concerts in Moncton. I don't think anything maybe prolonged or let the teams think too long, but coming off a 7-game series and jumping right back into the fire against Halifax, they were already in the pressure cooker, and probably was the advantage they needed to get one victory. And I think they should be proud of the one victory against a tough Halifax team. And Chris, I don't know, if I reflect back, I don't know how many games Moncton beat Halifax during the regular season, if the series was close or not. But the playoffs is a whole different story. We've seen it, many times. But I think the emergence for me in the series of Jacob Steinman in the nets, and he carried the load throughout the playoffs, I think is the exciting thing for the Wildcats moving forward. They're going to have 2 19-year-old goaltenders next year in regards to Fillion and Steinman. But Steinman was outstanding during the playoffs, and probably kept some of those Halifax games a lot closer, and of course was a key factor in a 7-game victory over Baie-Comeau.
I think Steinman at this point, yes, they'll have 2 19-year-old goaltenders going into the season, but I don't think, and as much as I hate to say this because I wanted Fillion to be the guy, of course, the key piece of the Jacob Pelche trade coming in was, but Jacob Steinman showed up and he's proven this is his net. I mean, there's a reason he went to him. It's his net to lose at this point. So I would suggest he's your runner going forward. And, the Wildcats are poised to make that Mem Cup run in the next 2 years. All signs are pointing to them putting a bid in the next couple of years for that 2025 Memorial Cup. So we'll see what happens there. But overall, at this point, if you can get Steinman, as a 19 and then a 20-year-old going forward, plus don't forget the Wildcats are filled with draft picks going into the QMJHL draft coming up as well over the next couple of years. Richie Thibault is going to use some of those assets similar to what you might have seen Trevor Georgie do a couple of years ago when he was building that Memorial Cup run in St. John. But overall, fans were treated because Jacob Steinman, there's many times when even that Baie-Comeau series could have ended early for Moncton, but Steinman kept them in it.
Yeah, Chris, and something that has come to an end for the Moncton Wildcats is the services of Vincent LaBelle. And if you remember, I think we were still doing Wildcats on Rogers in 2020 when he arrived. Were we doing that? I think we were. I think
Correct.
We got a small glimpse of him because, of course, that
Didn't
team
get a
was
lot, but we
heavily
got some.
stacked.
Yep.
He didn't get to play, but here he played his he played his last season in Major Junior. What an asset he had been. He was a free agent they acquired. And how much his stay in Moncton has been memorable for a lot of Moncton Wildcat fans, along with the acquisition of Charles Baudouin, who they picked up in a trade, and also Anthony Hamel, who they picked up in a trade from Charlottetown. Those are the 3 20-year-olds that are going to graduate, if you will, from major junior. But the question becomes, is Barbashev going to come back as a 20? You have
Right.
Plendowski as a 20. You have Trenholm as a 20. And you have another fella that surprised me throughout the year, and I didn't know his value until I saw they put a C on his jersey, was Alex Danielle, who is from Moncton, and 11th round pick and a valuable asset for the Moncton Wildcats going forward. He'll be at 20 next year too.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But overall, I think the
Yeah.
Wildcats will be fine. This is another step for them. And again, second round or bust again next season. If not, like, they could, I'm not going to say compete and contend, but they'll look good. Either way, you got to be, I've talked to Wildcat fans across the city. They've been very thrilled, entertaining. I mean, the Bay Como series is the best in franchise history. But yeah, overall, kudos to the Moncton Wildcats on the second round. I mean, but Halifax is Halifax, and they're going to do exactly what they do, which is what I think we're going to talk about next year, of course, because Halifax and Sherbrooke are kicking off the next round. And this is one of the series that I'm looking forward to the most because it is more local. It's in the Maritimes, and I know that, shocking to you, Jerry, I actually did some research going into this one, and I want to talk about a little bit. So
Chris.
what I think
the date today?
Yeah, write that
go
down.
ahead.
Write that down. So we're going to start off the hop, and that is, you like quirky facts, and we're going to start here. Halifax is going to complete their QMJHL playoff bingo card, as Sherbrooke's the only team in franchise history that Halifax has never played in a 7-game series in the QMJHL. Throughout the regular season, Halifax 1-1 against the Phoenix this year. They had a 6-2 win in Halifax back in January. They got shut out in February 3-0. But if you look at the keys to this series right now, and I'm going to start with Halifax because this is it. Depth. Depth has to be there. It's only going to be called depth because you've got to be good, better than the other team. Halifax has the depth, but Sherbrooke's got it too. And the team who gets secondary scoring here is going to have a huge advantage in this series. Halifax has shown throughout the year that they have the ability to step up their game when playing tougher teams. However, all the teams Halifax played this year, Sherbrooke dominated them the most. The win in Halifax was thanks large to a part of Olivier Adam having an off night. But overall, they played well at times, and they were dominated for a long stretch of both games. So they're going to need to find a way to push Sherbrooke back on their heels and stop the big guns from running around in the zone, because that's what they've done over the series. They can't afford to be defending long stretches. Key number 2, Dumais has to be Dumais. Jordan Dumais has to, he had a better game against Moncton when that series started to close out. But he's the Wildcat. He's a wild card, excuse me. He can be the dominant player Halifax needs him to be. That'll give them the edge in that series. Look, Sherbrooke's got a ton of offensive weapons, but when Dumais on his game, I think he can make more of a difference than anybody else on the ice right there. And that's including Zachary Leroux, but he's got to find his groove in order for Halifax to have a shot. Now, I looked at the Sherbrooke side of things, and the key piece to Sherbrooke here right now, Jerry, is the turnover piece. Halifax chance against Sherbrooke were all off turnovers when they came away with that win. They've got the ability to cycle the game extremely well. Mobile defenses teams for long stretches, but if they turn the puck over against Halifax, they're going to be in trouble. They use the D wisely, and this is the part that I like the most. So Sherbrooke's top 6 D is probably the best in the league, in my opinion. They've got 5 19-year-olds back there. They've got a 20-year-old on defense. 3 of them are NHL drafted. In the game in Halifax, a lot of their plays went through the blue line. Could be a little too predictable, though, and Halifax is going to be looking for that. But I find that they were trying to do exactly what the Leafs were doing against Tampa, get those execution shots from the blue line. But they need to pick apart Halifax's relatively inexperienced defense with some smart passing, and I think they can get through. But overall, the key piece to this whole thing is you got to stay poised. If Sherbrooke's got a chance here to make this work, I think this could be a tough matchup for Halifax. If Sherbrooke stays poised, it could be good, because I look at this series and I go, this Sherbrooke team reminds me a lot of that 2019 Drummondville team that had Joe Valeno. They had Comtois. Yes, Halifax came away with that series, but Sherbrooke's built a little stronger and a little quicker, and I think the offense is going to flow. But overall, this is going to be one heck of a series, Jerry. And I think anybody in Atlantic Canada, I've talked to Moosehead fans, they're excited. This should be one for the ages. Overall, I will tell you, though, I'm going to give the edge to Sherbrooke here. I think Sherbrooke's going to come away with this one. I'd like to see the Moose move on, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Well, the Atlantic guys that I'm going to be interested in watching, they could be key factors for both teams. Josh Lawrence for Halifax jumps out for me as an Atlantic performer that's playing in his last season. And over on the other side, the great acquisition of Jacob Melanson from Bathurst to Sherbrooke. They picked up Cole Huckins last year from Bathurst to Sherbrooke. And the other fella that we forget about, Marc-Andre Gadet on the blue line for Sherbrooke is a valuable asset, and quietly left Chicoutimi and went to Sherbrooke. And he's a drafted player that's from here in New Brunswick. St. Ignace, I think, is where he's
Yeah.
from. So 3 Bathurst connections, former Titan, that are now playing in Sherbrooke that I think could be big factors. But yeah, Sherbrooke is a high-flying team, and I think both of them have great top 6. It's the bottom 6 that make the difference in the playoffs, and it's the intensity. And I don't know. Sherbrooke, I don't think, has lost a game in the playoffs yet, and Halifax just lost that one to Moncton. So there's 2 teams that need to be tested with adversity, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, you're right. And on the flip side of that too, you get the other series, and I know we haven't really touched on it, but you look at the Quebec Gatineau side of things, you got the number 1 goaltender versus the number 2 goaltender in the playoffs. 2 of the top 5 point producers so far, and Zach Dean and Riley Kidney. The top goal scorer in the playoffs has been Alexi Gendron, all for Gatineau. I mean, where do you see this? Is this the situation? I mean, especially now with the rumors coming out of Rimouski with Beausoleil being fired, and they've already got him linked to the Quebec Remparts for next season. Are people moving too fast on that? I mean, what are your thoughts on this series? What are you expecting to see there?
Well, LaPena was there last year. He was with the
Right.
Charlottetown Islanders and got to the finals, not just the semifinals. He got to the finals. And so you think he's got that seasoning under his belt. But Quebec has been number 1 when it's been goals against all season long. Stingy to an exorbitant amount difference from the other teams. So, and of course, they're coached by Patrick Waugh. They've got lots of firepower. It's going to be, I guess, the ticket office at the Slush Puppy Arena. I don't know if it's called the Slush Puppy Arena. It's Slush Puppy something. In the Gatineau, it took them an hour to sell out the 2 games 3 and 4, of which the seating capacity is at 5,000. So it's going to be a high octane type of or high viewership, if you will, of the 2 cities, Gatineau and Quebec, that are going to be watching this series very closely. And of course, the Quebec media will be watching it very closely too. It should be fun.
Absolutely. It's been a great QMJHL playoff, and I can't wait to see exactly what's going to happen.
Yep.
But speaking of hockey playoffs, let's change leagues. We're going to go to the NHL. And of course, the hottest topic in the history of life is, have the Leafs figured this out, Jerry? Are they going to pull this thing out? Are they going? Look, they had no business winning game 3 or game 4, in my opinion. But either way, here we are. Series is now 3-1 in favor of the Leafs. They've got a stranglehold going back to Toronto as we record this. What is going on?
They play tonight. Yep. I don't know, Chris. I've never seen so many goals, not only in this series, but in many series that I've watched in this playoff season, that are getting deflected in by goaltenders. And I guess they always say that if the goaltender's that good, you got to get in his eyesight, you got to redirect shots, there's got to be traffic in front. But it seems every time the Leafs shoot from the point, be it a wrist shot or whatever, it seems to get by Vasilevsky, who has been painfully unreliable.
Normal.
He's been painfully unreliable for me. You put him back there, and the puck always seemed to hit him, and he always made the save when you needed to make the save. Not like Samsonov's been that great in the other end either, because both teams are scoring goals. But to see the degree of control Tampa had in that game and have that slip away so quickly is astounding. But here it is now. They have to go home, and we've seen it over and over again. So I'm not, Leaf fans, just be prepared. They don't like the pressure of trying to close somebody out on home ice. And so if you give Tampa any momentum in game 5 and they win that and go back to Tampa for game 6, you can be guaranteed there's going to be a game 7 and more pressure on the Leafs. If they don't win game 5, it's big trouble for them. And that's very exciting. I mean, exciting for the Toronto media. It's exciting for us who either love the Leafs or hate the Leafs. It's a great time. And Tampa is a team you cannot count out. It's going to be really, really fun tonight.
Speaking of teams you can't count out, let's talk about the Oilers in LA for a minute, because this is one that's been a little interesting to me right now. I mean, I thought the Oilers, I'll be honest, I thought the Oilers were going to walk all over LA, and now they've got their hands tied with them. I don't even know what to think here, but good on LA for keeping Edmonton where they are, but good on another comeback win for the Oilers the other night.
I know game 5 is going to be played before this airs. And I don't know if Edmonton's going to change their goaltending. I don't think they can.
They're not. They said
they're not.
Okay,
Skinner's going to go back in, and I think that's the way it should be. Even though Campbell came in relief, and they did get the overtime win. That the series, because we don't get to see a lot of LA, is being dominated down the middle with Kopitar and I think Philip Deneau. And we know Philip Deneau very well. And Philip Deneau has become more offensive, but he still has that defensive mind that keeps him valuable in the back in the defensive end. And quietly, they've been getting leads. That's the other thing. If LA can get a lead and they try to shut you down, they said it was a series that was supposed to go 7 games. I want to see Connor McDavid score an even strength goal. They say he has not scored an even strength goal yet in the series. He needs to force himself against LA during 5-on-5 because you can't always rely on the power plays. Penalties are starting to become a little more fewer in between that you're going to get. So you gotta get some goals 5-on-5.
I fully agree with you. I think it's just a matter of time. I mean, you can only keep Connor McDavid off the scoreboard 5-on-5 for so long, and eventually he's going to take this thing over. I still have confidence. I still have the Oilers in this one. Jerry, we got to talk about your Winnipeg Jets before we move on, and that is, have injuries done the Jets in this year? I mean, Pierre-Luc Dubois has done his part. He's looked great. But overall, from a injury perspective, are you worried about them at this point? Like, are they done?
Dubois is a double-edged sword for me, Chris. Yes, he's been great, but he's taken some awful stupid penalties. My goodness, and they've resulted in goals. And the other thing I'm going to say about this Jets team, which is going to lose in Vegas, unfortunately, they're going to lose in 5 games. I am done with the whiteout. The whiteout is a curse. I've watched, Chris, I'm a great Winnipeg Jet fan, and this whiteout went back to the 80s when the Jets were in the playoffs, and it never, ever worked. And the design of the whiteout was the fact that the home team wore white, and so you wore white to support the guys in white. It doesn't happen that way anymore. The home team's wearing blue, the visitors are wearing white. Anyways, I'm done with it. Unfortunately, the Jets have come to the end of their rope. Vegas, with that overtime win the other night, was the one in game number 4. That was or game number 3 rather, which was the first one the Jets hosted at home, coming back from a 4-1 deficit and should have won that one in overtime. That would have made a totally different aspect. But when you lose your top defenseman, that's a real problem. Right. Chris, let's move on. I think Boston's going to take care of Florida in 5. I'm intrigued to see that neither New Jersey or New York Rangers can win on home ice.
Yeah, I agree. It's been a good series to watch. And look, the Devils have finally made it interesting. They've tied this series up. I'm going to keep a close eye on this one because as good as the Rangers got a trade deadline, you just can't count this Devils team out, and they just caught the momentum.
And Chris, just one note: it came out today that Cale Makar was going to get a 1-game suspension for the hit on McCann the other night. Do you agree? I totally agree. I don't even know why he didn't get 5 minutes. It's definitely after the play. They both see the puck leave the surface, and he lays him out, and he hits his head.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. I think it's the right call. I think that the fact that the referee changed it, I mean, they went 5 minutes just so they had time to review it because that's the whole point of calling a major.
Right.
But it should have stayed a major. But yes, no doubt there. He's done. Cale Makar's done. I think the Kraken could get this done without Cale Makar. Could take a 3-2 series lead. Dallas, Minnesota, best series that no one's watching, even though, it's, I don't know. I've really enjoyed this. I like Minnesota here, but Dallas looked real good.
Yes.
Okay, Jerry, let's move on. I want to talk about the NFL quickly because of the news that's finally everyone's been waiting to hear. Aaron Rodgers in the Green Bay. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers finally a New York Jet. It took forever to make it happen. It is done. So how it looks now is the Jets are going to receive Aaron Rodgers, the 15th overall pick, and the 170th pick. Meanwhile, the Packers are going to get the 13th overall pick number 42, and pick number 207. But in 2024, there's also a second-round pick that if Aaron Rodgers plays more than 65% of the plays, it's going to get upgraded to a first-round pick. So overall, are you surprised? One, I'm surprised the deal was as big as it was. I thought the Jets paid more than they were going to, but overall, they wanted to get this thing done so they could start running the offense here. Are you happy to see this thing done?
Aaron Rodgers annoys me at times, though, with the drama as of, LeBron James type drama that he puts into where he's going to go and why. I think he's 37, put our crack research staff on that. I think he's 37, and he's still got life left in him. But doesn't it smell so much like Tom Brady leaving the team that he's been with his whole time, going to another team and not resurrecting them? They're just a step away. And just similarities with Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay had solid defense when Brady went there, and the offensive line was suspect. I think the same characteristics are involved here with the New York Jets. Everybody talks about what a great defense they have, and he is 39, right? Thanks, Jay. And their defense is solid, and they just need somebody to lead them, of which Rodgers can do. But it's a tough division, Chris. It's not like playing in Tampa Bay's division. You're playing in the AFC East. There's a tough place to play. It's going to be really fun, and there's going to be a lot of Jet games on TV.
Look, there'll be a lot of Jet games on TV and a lot of Jet fans that have every reason to celebrate. The only guy I think who won't be celebrating so hard will be Zach Wilson on the sideline. But overall, I'm excited this is over. To me personally, I like Aaron Rodgers. I think he's very good. I think he's going to resurrect, like you said, the Jets. I'm pumped for it. The other thing I'm pumped for the NFL quickly, Jerry, is I just want to touch on, don't forget the draft is coming up this weekend.
Yeah.
And of course, as a Colts fan, this is huge for me because nobody knows who we're taking it for. I'm not sure if we're trading back. Maybe we'll grab Trey Lance. I mean, I heard Lamar Jackson's still available. Maybe we'll just draft the QB, but either way, the draft is probably in the NFL my favorite of all the drafts because it's such an event. It's the best hands down watch draft period.
Yeah, but Chris, I hate the commissioner being the guy that makes all the announcements. I like the NHL point of view. You get the general manager in there and let the whole, some people get up there and see the new draft pick. But anyways, that's the way they do it in the NFL.
That's the difference between millionaires and billionaires, my friend. All right, let's talk about the NBA playoffs quickly.
You're right.
We got to talk about the news out of Toronto. Head coach Nick Nurse fired. I was a little surprised to see. I mean, at the end of the day, they always say the boss man takes the fall. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't like the Toronto's problem is well beyond Nick Nurse. How do the Raptors have the team in the last 5-6 years who've had 2 coaches of the year and both of them have gotten fired? I don't know. I don't know what they do from here on out, but now it looks like they're in the market for a head coach.
Yeah, it's going to be that. And there might be some changes on the floor, too. I don't think Siakam's the man. They gave him the opportunity to be the man. I don't think he's the man. I'm loving watching Golden State and Sacramento play, Chris. And I'm watching your Lakers. And I'm loving watching the drama that Memphis, who is a second seed, playing the 7th seed. And the fact that Miami could knock off the number 1 seed and the number 1 team overall, Milwaukee. They have a lead, do the Heat on the Bucks. That's fun to watch, too.
Jimmy Butler put up like 50 points the other night, and I love seeing that. When you see that stuff going on, but you talked about LeBron real quick, and you talked about the Lakers. Austin Reeves has probably been my favorite player to watch in the entire postseason. He's really turned things around. Anthony Davis has looked good. Either way, the Lakers are, as a 7 seed who played in that play-in tournament, are about to upset Memphis. And even though they say Ja Morant's hurt, look, Ja Morant put up 45 points. Ja Morant's fine. Overall, Brooks has poked the bear. And all I know is that when this is said and done, purple and gold will be raining high, buddy. Don't rule them out. Well, Jerry, it's here. It's time. It's everyone's favorite part of the show. It's time to wrap this thing up. Let's go to the wrap, and we're starting with the NHL as always. The season's over, and now we know who's heading to the Centennial Cup. Hit us with it.
A little bit of a surprise, Chris. Not the team that led the overall standings throughout the regular season with a 41-9-2 record, but the fact that the Yarmouth Mariners swept the Edmonton Blizzard in 4 straight games, a little bit of a surprise. They won both games on home ice and then went to Edmonton and won the next 2 in front of big crowds in Edmonton. In fact, Chris, they go 12-0 through the playoffs. Swept Pictou, swept Truro, and then swept Edmonton to win the Metal Fab Cup, the MHL Cup that's handed out to the champion. So congratulations to the Yarmouth Mariners, who won Game 4 by a score of 5-1 over the Edmonton Blizzard. Now they go on to take in the Centennial Cup. They were nationally ranked, Chris, the Yarmouth Mariners, all season long. And they get to go to the Centennial Cup, and they get a little bit of chance to rest because they swept through that series. Usually be another week before that series was over. So the Centennial Cup doesn't start till May 11th to the 21st in Portage La Prairie, Manitoba. There'll be 9 Junior A championship teams there and the host to create a 10-team round-robin playoff. Good luck to the Yarmouth Mariners. Good luck to Oakland A's sports fans. Chris, I got some bad news again this week.
Oof, when it rains, it pours. MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred said he feels sorry for the fans in Oakland about the Athletics' plan to relocate to Las Vegas. And why not? Everybody else is moving to Vegas because, hey, that's what they say. Sin City. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Manfred discussed his plans on Monday during a meeting with the Associated Press sports editors, adding he believes the last-placed A's can field a more competitive team in Nevada. The franchise announced last week that it signed a binding agreement to purchase land for a new retractable roof ballpark close to the Vegas Strip after being unable to reach an agreement to construct a new venue in the Bay Area. The A's had been trying to escape the rundown Oakland Coliseum for years, exploring options in Fremont and San Jose. But at the end of the day, it looks like they're heading to Vegas. And hey, look at how the Golden Knights have turned out. The Raiders are doing all right. Look, Vegas is a sports city. So good luck to the A's. I do feel bad for A's fans, though. It seems like another staple in MLB is on its way out. Jerry, there's another hockey championship in the Maritimes going on. This is something I can't wait to hear about.
Yeah, the Junior B League has a warm spot in my heart, Chris, and they're playing their Atlantics this weekend. It's called the Don Johnson Memorial Junior B Championships, taking place in Liverpool, Nova Scotia. The Kent Coyotes, who are the defending champs, they're the New Brunswick champs, and they're going to be there to defend their championship against the Kensington Vipers of PEI and the two Nova Scotia teams, of which is the championship team and the host team. So best of luck to the Kent Coyotes as they head to the Don Johnson Memorial Championship for Junior B hockey in Atlantic Canada. Chris, something I've never heard of, fans getting money back. First of all, how and what sport?
I can tell you that if this was a thing, every time I was disappointed, Jerry, my wallet would be full. But yeah, you are right. For the first time in history, a sports team is reimbursing fans for laying an egg on the field. The Tottenham Hotspurs, they're the first squad who is going to refund their supporters who traveled to watch us Sunday's 6-1 humiliation loss to Newcastle United. The club confirmed in a statement, goalkeeper Hugo Lloris apologized to the 3,000 supporters who made the long trip to Tyneside, and the players decided to cover the match ticket as cost. Quoted, as a squad, we understand your frustration, your anger. Began a statement on behalf of the players. Sunday wasn't good enough. We know words aren't enough in a situation like this, but believe us, a defeat like this hurts our franchise. We do appreciate the support, home and away. And with this in mind, we want to reimburse the fans the cost of their match tickets from the St. James Park. You know what? At the end of the day, this is probably something we're never going to see again. But how great is it to see that a squad comes on out and says, hey, you know what? This is on us. You know what? We want to thank the fans for coming. Please come see us. We're going to reimburse your ticket. Again, don't kid yourself. They're not going to do it every time. That happened one time, but pretty remarkable. I love seeing stories like this in the news. Well, Jerry, that's been a great show. Let's close this thing off. We hope everybody's had as much fun as we've had doing it. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.